Hello, autumn is in the air and Manscaped is here to ensure that you don't carve your pumpkins when you're grooming. By pumpkins, we actually mean your boys. Yeah, Stephen and the twins. In fact, Manscaped is on a mission to change the way that you approach caring for your balls, and great news, they've just released their products in the UK, Canada and Australia. Now, let's not forget...
We're not bothered about the Australians having a nice...
You're not?
No?
Well, neither am I, actually.
They can chuff off.
The Lawnmower 3.0 trimmer offers a replaceable ceramic blade with advanced skin-safe technology, which helps reduce grooming accidents. Lads, have you ever had a grooming accident? And be completely honest.
Only the odd nip and a little bit of needless blood for a bit, but nothing like ridiculous. No sort of horrific Halloween horror film scenes, mate. And I'm too scared to
go too deep.
Yeah, so yeah, I am actually due a little bit of a tidy up down there, so I'm looking forward to using my as previously used Manscaped equipment.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
and Chris,
I would second what Brooksy said. I don't think anyone can lie if they do look after themselves and say they've never had a little accident. But due to having the new Manscaped product means I will never have an accident again.
I love it. Well, look, they've got an ear and nose hair trimmer as well. It's called the Weed Whacker. They've got the crop care kit. We like that, by the way. I've used that ball deodorant. It's brilliant. Really, really nice. I don't really know why, but it feels nice and fresh down there. It's very good. Crop mop ball wipes, crop cleanser body wash, a full body wash that you can also use on your hair, on your head. Not that I've got much of it, so I might not probably last
be careful, mate. Be careful.
I started to get that in before you guys started as well. And if you suffer from stank foot or you stand on your feet all day, there's a product for you, the Foot Duster foot deodorant. It's a free gift as well when you order this, so that's pretty good. Loads of stuff to go at as well. And the reason that we're kind of mentioning this to you is because we've got a code, haven't we, Chris? Is it Barmy Army?
We have, yes, absolutely. So you can get 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com with code Barmy Army in block capitals. Make your balls a priority this fall.
Masterfully done. And like we said before, I use mine the other week, and you can eat your dinner off it. Hello, and a very warm welcome to the Shackles Are Off podcast. They are becoming a little bit infrequent, but over the next few weeks, our podcast shall be becoming more frequent with Chris Millard and Jack Brooks. We've got loads of guests lined up, so don't go away. If you've subscribed and you're thinking, well, you're not putting them out much at the moment, well, they're going to continue to be put out at a quick pace of knots, aren't they? Because it's winter time. There's not a great deal happening. So cricketers are just sat around scratching their backsides. So this week we've got Ben
think
Duckett
everyone
on.
is, not just cricketers, mate. I think
it's true, isn't it?
The news, we're all sat at home, twiddling our thumbs, using our Manscaped products. And I think just watching the rainfall and hoping for more Shackles Are Off podcasts. So it's nice to be back, mate.
We've got loads of good ones lined up, and they'll be coming out over the next few weeks. So keep your eyes peeled. Brooksy, the season has ended, and it didn't quite end in the way that you wanted to, but a Lord's final and that kind of thing. You must look back on it and just think, wow, I'm glad it's all over.
Yeah, it's weird, mate. Really mixed emotions. Like what felt like the longest pre-season and season on record, and ended up just being a sort of 2 months season, I suppose. But it was so cramped in, and yeah, it was mad. We played really well. Fair play to Essex for doing one on us in the final. They knew what they had to do and they got it done. They're a very good outfit. And Alistair Cook was unbelievable, wasn't he, in that first innings? We just couldn't get him out, and we didn't bowl badly at all. The worst thing about it for me was that I tore my thumb ligaments halfway through the game. So I'm currently got a classic Avid Merriam, Keith Lemon, big cast.
Keith Lemon, Luis Suarez.
I'm going to be laid up for about sort of 6 weeks recovering with the thumb op, and just disappointing, mate, but we didn't play badly and we got to a final at Lords. It's always nice to do that in currently what's been going on with this season.
What was it like bowling at Cookie in that form?
Hard work.
Yeah. Graft.
Like bowling at a wall in front of the stumps. He just didn't really give many opportunities. The pitch wasn't that quick, so edges weren't carrying to the slip, so that was our best chance of getting him out, because he had a couple of edges just drop short. But he just bedded in, mate, and just, he just puts away bad balls, and we got a good bowling attack, and he just didn't look like getting out. Didn't give a chance. Then eventually did get out, nicked off, And then the second innings, he got him out caught behind when he didn't hit it. So it was too late by then, unfortunately. But yeah, fair. They were the better team in the week, and they got what they needed to do out of the game. So we move on, don't we?
What about the? I mean, look, you might have to be diplomatic here, but I'm going to say it. I thought that first innings highest total wins rule was a bit daft. You know what I mean? I just thought that's a bit. I don't know. I thought it was a bit silly. I mean, I know there's not really another way of doing it because it was being played basically in winter time.
Super over.
It just felt a little bit harsh. Yeah, super over. Yeah, we love a super over.
Yeah, I suppose it kind of reminds me of grade cricket in a bit in Australia when you play out there because you play. The result is on first innings. Whoever gets the highest score first innings. But
is that what they do? Is that what? Yeah, is that how it works?
But you can still win the game outright in a second innings. So if it does go to a second innings, you can win the game outright, and whoever wins the game on second innings. So if we'd bowled them out last day, that'd be an outright win. But listen, we knew what the rules were. It's not as if the rules suddenly came in day 2, day 3.
Yeah,
when they'd already scored more than us. Like we knew what the rules were, so we can't complain, and we haven't. We had probably the toughest of the conditions. Certainly day 1, batting day 1 at Lords with overheads. They bowled very well, and we managed to grind to 300 in whatever it was. It took 2.5 days with a lot of bad weather around, and Eddie Byram scored a magnificent ton, and Tom Lammonby scored a really good ton seconding. Two good young players coming through for us who have sort of shown that they can perform at that level. And then when Essex batted, the wicket sort of dried out a bit and got a bit easier to bat on. But I mean, when you've got one of the world's best batters, we had to have a lot go our way. And even though we were very good, we just didn't have enough, unfortunately. And like I said, they knew what they needed to do. And even it went into the last day, needing to bowl them out for 230, whatever it was. We generally thought there'll be a result. It won't still go back to a first innings result here. It'll be a straight win-lose.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the pitch just died, and they just shut up shop and didn't give us a sniff. So it was disappointing and very frustrating, but just one of those things, isn't it? And we won't complain. We hold our heads up in the game and we move on.
Absolutely. Best way to do it. But I have heard that county champ final has done a lot of good for the county championship game. Chatting to a few people in the know and a few people at Sky, they were absolutely blown away with the figures of the people that were watching on the free YouTube channel. So I think we could be seeing a lot more televised county cricket next year, maybe on YouTube as well. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Brooksy, for entertaining the nation in their droves.
As always, mate. As always. Too easy.
Well, we've got a guest on who basically is, I mean, you know, Ben Duckett, brilliant. Everyone says, I've never spoke to him before. Everyone says what a great bloke he is, and you guys are giving a ringing endorsement of that as well. That, you know, all the stuff that you may or may not have read. If you're a cricket fan, you think, God, you know, he's done that and he's done this, and oh, what an idiot. But he's had such a good year this year, hasn't he? And he obviously absolutely clonked it on finals day and was brilliant. He was the standout sort of player of the day. Lads, you know him sort of a little bit, and he's sort of been a bit involved with the Barmy Army. And what can we expect from Ben on the pod?
Yeah, I know him really well, Greggy. I left Northants just as he was coming through, and obviously our careers are sort of intertwined, played against each other a lot, and we know each other anyway off field. I think he's had the rough end of a stick a little bit in terms of a few stories which have probably not helped his career, because his on-field and his ability is second to none. You've got to look at the talent he's got. I think he's just obviously matured a bit this year, made him sit up and realise not to waste his career a bit. And I think what he has been guilty of maybe in the past is just sort of being a bit naive and not knuckling down as hard as he probably should do, which I think we've probably seen a new Ben Duckett this summer. And we've been really looking forward to talk to him to sort of get into his mind about what's triggered that and how lockdown year has been for him. But I think you're going to see a new Ben Duckett going forward, and that can only bode well potentially for England, because he's a special batter. Yeah.
And Millard, you're probably going to claim him as one of your own prodigies, aren't you?
He's one of our own. He is. No, he's Ben has played for the Barmy Army Colts before, thanks to Mark Steer back in the day, and obviously he's come through the ranks of the Barmy Army, and that's got him to where he is today. I've absolutely no doubt. But it's great to see him really bouncing back this year and being a successful, winning that T20 final, which I'm sure we all watched. It was great to see him producing the performances he was producing like he was back in 2016. So I know full well he's a great guy as well. So I'm looking forward to getting to have a chat with him.
Perfect. And by the way, for future podcasts, do get in touch with us. Send us emails, info@barmyarmy.com, or just send us a message on Twitter or however else you can stumble across us all, because we will read them out. We've just done sort of so many infrequent and bits and bobs and whatever over the last few weeks that we've, I think, to be fair, we've lost a lot of the correspondence, just forgotten who's emailed us, which isn't great. But if you have tried,
left, Greggy?
What's that?
How many countries are left for us to hit that haven't?
I don't know how many countries there are in the world. That's bad, but we've got loads.
162, I think.
More than that, because we've got about that who actually where our podcast downloaded.
200. There's at least 200 countries.
At least 200. Good. Anyway, really educational. This part of the podcast.
Geography with the Barmy.
Hang on.
Are you googling it?
At least 200, yeah, both of you.
Yeah, at least.
How many then? At least.
I think 205.
Oh, idiot.
200...
Why is that right? Is that right?
Is that correct?
Brooksy?
Well, if it's correct, I'm going to go 205. And if it's wrong, I'm going to go about 212.
Wow. Way off it, lads. 195.
Way off? It's not way off.
Well, about 10 countries off.
Well, I've been to 20 off, so...
Well, there you go. Well done. Well done, you.
I can't count higher than that, so I've got no chance.
If anybody knows anyone interested in cricket in Albania, Andorra, Kosovo, any of these countries, please send them the podcast, because we've got a few more countries to tick off.
Yeah, we have. I know. I'll find out. I'll tell you what, for the next episode, I'll do a bit of homework and I'll try and work out which countries we still need to tick off. And if you live near one, could you just drive over the border and download it so we get it on our stats? That'd be great. Anyway, thanks for downloading. Thanks for sharing and subscribing and commenting and getting in touch and all that kind of stuff as well. And we'll get into it. It's the Shackles Are podcast with Ben Duckett. Right, Ben, we'll start off with a question that we ask pretty much everyone else. Talk to us about your early cricketing beginnings. Like, how did you get into it? What was it that made you start and pick up a bat? And how come you love it so much?
Probably the same as a lot of lads, but my dad played cricket. He liked to think he was good anyway, but yeah, I think he stuck a bat in my hand at a young age, and he was very happy when he had a boy. So yeah, I had no choice really. So yeah, whether that was in the back garden or wherever it may be, but I actually put a post up the other day of my rig not changing too much, but me topless in the garden at about 5 years old, my gut hanging out. So yeah,
I thought you meant your height.
Well, I mean, I got a lot of stick for that as well, that I haven't grown yet. But yeah, so it was all sports for me really growing up, but I guess cricket was probably just the one I was better at.
Fair enough. And look, what about getting in the Northant side? So you obviously made a big impact when you came in, but was that to do with the fact that Brooksy did you just left Brooksy when Ben came in? So it was obviously like once Brooksy'd gone, that was it. You know, you'd open the floodgates.
Heard about the new great hope coming through. This posh lad from Stowe School, everyone kept talking about.
Yeah, we never actually played together, did we, Brooksy? But yeah, I kind of was just I got kind of drafted in pretty quick from school. I didn't play too much second team cricket. Kind of just got thrown in there and just to see how I went. And to be honest, I did nothing special for a couple of years. I found the step up quite tough. I just had a bit of talent. Kind of, I always kind of found ways of scoring runs, but yeah, I think it probably took me 18 months to actually get my first 100. So it wasn't the smoothest start to my professional career. Fair enough.
Well, whereabouts are you, by the way? Because we spoke to Tim Bresnan on the podcast a few weeks ago, right? And Brezzy was, we tried it the first time, lads, didn't we? And he was basically stood at the side of a road. He was just
Leicester
about to
Forest, wasn't
Warwickshire. He? Yeah, he was at some service station, wandering around a car park with vans flying past him. You're outside as well, so I think you're the second person to come on the pod who's actually outside. So where are you? What's the setting? Describe it.
I'm in the lovely part of Oxfordshire. I'm at Soho Farmhouse. Probably couldn't sound any more posh if I wanted to.
Very middle class.
I mean, it's not my membership. I'm here as a mate. just went to the gym actually. Obviously, I'm always trying to work on my rig. So yeah, if there's a bit of noise, it's because there's a few 60-year-olds out here having a coffee or a beer.
What are you lying about going to the gym for, Ducky? You really have changed. If you have,
I'm a changed man. I've got my birthday this weekend, so that's going to be a quiet one. So I'm trying to have a good week until then.
Yeah, good man.
Good man. Good man.
I love it. Look, we'll come on to England under 19 stuff as well, and when your career sort of got going in a minute. But Chris, I'm led to believe that Ben sort of made his first steps into cricketing stardom through playing for the Barmy Army.
Not sure about stardom, but yeah, he did. He played quite a few games with Mark Steer for the Barmy Army Colts. A couple of tours, didn't you, Ben?
Yeah, I did. Really enjoyable that was actually. But it's a funny one. I actually I went on a tour to India. And I actually got severe heat stroke and spent 3 days in intensive care in India. So that was an interesting one for me. Yeah, I think we played at some grounds and it was so hot and there was no changing room, no toilet, anything. I think that was the only game I scored runs in and had severe heat stroke. I was in a bad place for a few days.
There you go. Learned the hard way then before the India tours.
Exactly that, yeah.
Top man. Who did you play with on those tours? Can you remember anyone else that's made it? I know Reece Topley has made it through the ranks, and is there anyone else that was on those tours with you?
When I played, I can't think of many. Obviously, George Steer was a mate of mine there, and he didn't. Guy called Dan Lewis Williams, who I went to Millfield Prep with. I can't think of many lads there was a guy called Basil Akram. I don't know if you know, who was tipped off to be a very good young cricketer who hasn't quite made it. But yeah, they were always great tours, and chances to go and play in a place like India. There wasn't quite didn't quite prepare me to facing Ashwin, but yeah, it was a good experience. I'm just going to have to go inside now. I prepared awfully here, but it's pissing it down with rain here. And I'm leaning my phone on my mate's laptop, so I don't know if I'm allowed to go inside here. But
get nestled next to the bar, mate. Just go and get yourself a pint.
Yeah, and get your mask on.
Yeah. I should be got a pint, shouldn't I? Right, let me see.
I love that. We were talking about heat stroke about a minute ago as well, and then now he's like, getting rained on.
Talking about heat stroke in the rain.
No.
Oh, Wi-Fi. You know what? This is a great little journey that we're sort of going in. It looks very nice there, Brooksy, by the way.
Nice roof, isn't it?
Joint. Yeah.
Oxfordshire is a glorious place to be, mate. I'm very jealous of.
Yeah.
David Beckham lives next door to where he is at the minute.
Does he? I'm moving.
Does he? Does Beckham live there, does he?
Yeah, he lives next door, yeah.
I think right, who needs Beckham when you got Ben Duckett on? That's all I'm saying.
I'm not sure about
that. He's back now, is he?
Love to see David Beckham play reverse sweep.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'd love to take a free kick like him.
Yeah, me too.
I love his bank balance, I think.
Yeah, and that.
Yeah,
Greggy, you want his wife?
Yeah, I was literally about to say that. You took the words out of my mouth. Oh dear. We'll get back onto cricket, shall we? So look, you went into the England under-19 side, into that setup. What's that like? Because we speak to a lot of older guys who are kind of approaching their end of the career and retired. I'm guessing that it's completely different. They talk about it, and it's almost like a glorified school's trip, going to the West Indies and all that, a bunch of 18, 17-year-olds. What was it like? I'm guessing it was quite serious. It's probably quite difficult to focus and stuff when it's a big bunch of lads going away, isn't it, Ben?
Yeah, it's a difficult one because I think actually the under-19s get a lot of stick from county cricketers because you see all these 19-year-olds who are going to play abroad and, all wearing their England kit and, now posting on Instagram and kind of, I'm sure Brooksy would agree with me that, we definitely got a lot of stick. And because, it is great to be involved in that and play in a World Cup and sort of be in the system. But really, at the end of the day, you've done nothing in your career playing under-19s. You're going to the next step, which is playing county cricket. And to be honest, it is a big step up from playing that. I think the good thing about being involved in that setup is kind of getting used to being around the England setup, and they do it like the Lions and the main side. So you do get a taste of what it's going to be like, I guess, and playing in different countries. And I was so lucky. I mean, I went to Dubai, Australia, South Africa, played in all these different countries. But yeah, looking back, it's at the end of the day, I mean, guys who finish their career at 19s, you know, your career starts at 19, 20, you know. So I think, and it is a massive step up when you go from that to playing in the men's county cricket. And I definitely found that, you know, I did well in the World Cup and scored runs, you know, against 19-year-olds. But as soon as you start the season in April against these guys who have played for the last 10 years, it's a different ball game.
Yeah. And who was in that group then, out of when you were in the under 19s, who we know, who'd be familiar to our listeners?
Well, Dom Sibley, obviously, he opened the batting. I think his strike rate in that World Cup was about 26. Simmons hasn't changed. He loves batting, but yeah, he did cheer him up top for us. And then my good mate Joe Clark, he was in there. A few county cricketers, Ryan Higgins, Matthew Fisher, obviously Brooksy, you all know Fish. Sort of finishing that, I walked away thinking that he was going to play for England in 3 or 4 years. I think he was 16 on that trip, and he was bouncing, you know, some of the best Indian players out, and he was top class. And, you know, unfortunately for him, he's had injuries and it's set him back, but wish him all the best. But yeah, we had you know, because I played in the World Cup a couple of years before, and we had Jamie Overton, Craig Overton, Reece Topley, Daniel Bell Drummond, Alex Davies. That team was far better, but the team that I had was kind of a bunch of mates really who managed to do far more than we should have done by finishing third. So yeah, it's one of those things that I've achieved more in my career, but looking back on that, you know, I think we did the best since Pedro Brooksy when they won it, you know, back in about 1950. Yeah, I think we were we got the closest since then. So yeah, it's obviously nice to look back on something like that.
You're obviously good mates with Clarky, and you both made your way up to Trent Bridge at Notts. Did you have a little call before to say, look, where are we going to go and play together?
Yeah, we did actually. It's obviously good for me and him, such close mates off the pitch, but sort of, I think we've got it right this year that we push each other very hard, and we're kind of, me and him, trying to drive that side for the next 10 years, hopefully. But yeah, it's nice that, you know, when we get away from cricket, we can just kind of be mates and we don't have to talk about cricket and kind of get away from it together. So, but yeah, we certainly did before, kind of, you know, Joe, yeah, how are you getting on? Have you signed yet? And it was kind of, yeah, okay, we'll both sign now, done.
Yeah, I was trying to tap you both up for Yorkshire at the time. I was asked by sort of senior management and stuff, so get an idea about what you two were up to, because I know Yorkshire were in for both of you as well, weren't they?
Yeah, and to be fair, Clark, he said to me he was never going. I genuinely thought about it, but I mean, I would have done Brooksy, and then he left anyway. So
Yeah.
He'd have got me there, and then you just.
Mate, I told you, there's not room in any club for me and you, I don't think.
No, yeah, it's just not meant to be.
Ego. Way too much ego for me and you in the same team.
Oh, exactly.
I love it. So some of the best teammates and stuff that you've had then in that period. I mean, obviously 4 tests for England in sort of 2016 sort of time. How was that like getting in? You know, did it sort of come a bit too early now? You know, in hindsight, obviously at the time you were scoring runs and you were doing really well and you were making sort of serious tracks. Do you think sometimes you think, oh, you know, if I knew then what I knew now, you'd have approached it differently or come out of it better? You know, how I don't know how you feel about, you know, your England experience so far, really.
Yeah, I wouldn't like to say necessarily it's too early, but then again, it probably was. Like, I was just, you know, I had a ridiculous year. I was full of confidence, but it's a tough one. I think you know, I look at players like, you know, Popey, Sibbers, all those young lads now going to Bangladesh, going to India is alien conditions. And I think it doesn't really matter how old you are. Like, it's so hard out there. And for me, playing spin is definitely the best bit of my game. And yeah, I mean, Bangladesh, the average scores were about 160. Like it was not batsman friendly. And then going to India, one of the best off spinners ever worked me out. And he's worked a lot of left-handers out in his time. And it was a definite setback for me. And you do start to believe what you're reading and what you're hearing. And I did. But yeah, the runs I scored then, I haven't scored since that year, but I'm a far better player now than I was then. You know, I was just a young kid with plenty of talent who had a year where it kind of all came off. But I've had to work seriously hard at my game in the last sort of 4 or 5 years since then. And I just need to start putting in a few more consistent scores now to maybe get back in the mix. But I definitely think if I was to go back there now, I'd be in a better place than I was then.
I suppose, this summer when you were part of the squads and stuff, weren't you, I know it's all been dodgy with the coronavirus, but you were part of like the training squads, and then you were sort of part of the ODI group and stuff as well, weren't you? What was that like then coming back in? Was it almost, you were a bit more relaxed because you'd been there before than some of the other guys, I'm guessing, who hadn't tasted that?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, obviously that was after lockdown, wasn't it? And lockdown for me was huge because I basically just did fitness every day. That's all I did. And, right now and this summer has been the fittest I've ever been. It's not been, I've just kind of got by. Like I was one of the fitter lads in the team and I've never had that before. So when I got in that bubble, I was just so excited because I was moving so well fielding, like fitness. Like for me in the past, cricket's not necessarily been a problem. As you guys will have all heard from my career and seen, like me off the pitch and fitness, those little things have always been, whether it's me or someone else, they'll go with the guy who's fitter or, kind of thing. And it was the first time I'd been around the group of England players where I knew if we were doing a fielding drill or if we were doing this, I was going to be absolutely fine. I wasn't worried about I was going to be blowing out my arse 30 seconds in and worried about running around taking a catch. I was so ready. So it was the first time really I've been involved in that setup where I could kind of go there and lads are looking at me going, "Cool, you're looking good," kind of thing. And that's why I'll look back at this year and the pandemic has been an absolute nightmare for the whole world and everyone involved. But for my career, fitness-wise, it was huge for me. So moving forward, and that's why I'm gymming today. I think I've done 2 sessions and I've never ever done a session in October before in my career. So,
amazing.
As Brooksy knows, that October's the cricketer's month to really do what you want and sink the beers. But
you train that movement, don't you? Go drinking arm.
Yeah, the biceps okay, but other than that, and it's been massive, and I don't want to let go of that. That's why I'm kind of continuing to do that now, and I don't want to have those things hanging over me. If I was never to get picked again, that's fine as long as I am scoring runs and I'm feeling fit and I'm doing everything right. Then I'll hold my head high when I finish my career.
So it's really interesting that you say that, Ben, and you're looking at this winter as potentially an option to try and get on one of the tours. I know you mentioned it could be going back to India again with England, perhaps in the winter, and Sri Lanka as well. You're looking at those, really trying to be in contention for those tours. Yeah,
I think my biggest learning over the last couple of years is I got too caught up in thinking too far ahead. I think everyone kind of does it. And, I was looking at scores of other players around the country and worrying too much about what they were doing. I think the biggest thing this year, and after leaving the bubble is kind of, okay, I'm not picked in that. That's fine. I'm just going to go and, I'm lucky enough to be playing at one of the better counties in the country, winning a trophy this year and being there on finals day. And I think this year I've gone back to my 2016 self of just loving cricket again and not thinking about what's going on. And as I said before, and hopefully I can do this, and it can be tough, but not thinking about what's going on, above me or who's scoring runs, just trying to score runs myself. And, if I was to get picked this winter or even got picked up in a franchise thing, then brilliant, because I do feel like I would have deserved it more because I've scored runs this year. In the last 2 or 3 years, I've been lucky with Lions or the odd franchise, and I haven't deserved to be picked up in it. They picked me up off previous success and like ability. Whereas this summer, I believe, like if I went into something this winter, I said I'm fit, I've scored runs, I'm feeling confident, so I'd feel kind of a bit more ready for it. So if I was to be picked in any form of that, whether it was Lions, England, franchise, I'd feel ready. But if not, then I'll work my socks off at knots again this winter and go again next summer.
One thing I noticed, Ducky, when I watched a bit of the finals day in the final, your reaction when you won the game, you looked really pumped, and I don't think I've ever seen, because you're quite a chill guy, aren't you? Don't really show too much emotion on field, but it obviously meant a lot to you. Maybe going back over last year's heartache in the final as well, when it was down to you a little bit, I suppose, last ball.
Oh,
how much do you think, like obviously a young player like you, to learn how much it would hurt in that situation, then to go through the sort of the highs of it a year later must have been pretty, sort of put that to bed a little bit.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where, looking back to last year's finals day, it was one of the worst things in my career. But because of this year and looking back now, I think it was actually one of the best things in my career. I'm a different player this year, mentally, physically, everything. But having that setback, this is a bit more technical and stuff, but for me, I've always liked, batting and run chases and taking it deep. But that was a massive learning for me. And I say this to any cricketer, whether you're 35, 18, that, take it as deep as you want, but never in a big game let it go into the last over, because anything can happen, as I saw that game. And I think that's why this year I've had 3 not outs, winning the game and getting the boys over the line. And the Yorkshire one actually went into the last over, but I hit a boundary in the first ball of the over and kind of killed the game. And it was such a big learning for me, because, as I say, anything can happen. And I watched that. I on the morning of finals day this year, I went to the loo and I was sat on my bed, and Vitality Bar's tweet last year's semi-final, and I'm watching myself, fail, and I was like, oh no, and kind of thing. And it was just like, after last year, I needed this year to happen, and I'm so lucky that it happened a year later, because now, hopefully last year's final was kind of forgotten about. And yeah, it was a huge learning for me. But as you say, yeah, I do like to think I'm fairly chilled, and but yeah, I was very pumped up after getting the boys over the line there, because the year before.
Off the back of that, it's been, I've never really been that bothered about the IPL, lads, and I'm not sure about anyone else here, but this year I've watched way more of it than I ever have.
You would be if you're playing in it, mate, if you're getting the cash out of it.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
You're a purist, aren't you, Greggy, lad? You're a purist.
I'm not a purist. I'm just not really that bothered about it. But I know you've played a bit of franchise stuff, Ben, haven't you? Is it Islamabad United you played for?
Yeah, I played in the PSL. I picked up in it, but 2 of the young Pakistani lads got done for match fixing in the first game, which basically the whole dynamic of the whole squad. So I basically was told, you're not going to play. So it was actually, it was nice to be in a squad full of, such big players. But that, for me, it was actually, I was after the England tour. And I remember I was a slob. I was in my hood, because the PSL, the games finish at midnight. I was waking up at like 1 PM, I had a horrible time, actually.
Did you?
Right.
Okay.
But I'm all for franchise stuff. Like, I'd love to go back, and I don't think I helped myself, and that was a learning, because Sam Billings is one of the best off the pitch franchise stuff. And as you know, like, Sam's obviously an unbelievable cricketer, but I watched him during that PSL, and he did everything right off the pitch. He was so good. Any social thing, he was there. He was so good with the players, and I was lazy. After a tough winter, I kind of wish I was at home, and kind of after struggling with England, it wasn't actually very good for me. But I got an opportunity in South Africa to play in the Mzansi League, and I just made sure, like, I did okay. I probably averaged 30. Like, I did all right in it, but I made so much effort with all the lads off the pitch, and I think that's big in franchise stuff, that just kind of being a good bloke goes just as far as kind of scoring runs on the pitch.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was great to sort of share the dressing room with the likes of Shane Watson, Brad Haddon, Misbah Hack, and just kind of picking the brains of those international players.
Yeah, quality. Love that.
Amazing.
You mentioned being a good bloke and stuff, and obviously Brooksy says that you're really laid back, and you are. You come across really laid back. We know with some of this, the headline stuff that people have read and people will have been aware of a few years ago, and it's always, Ben Duckett's popping up and he's, what's he done wrong now, kind of thing. Does that bother you? Because you seem so relaxed and you don't seem like that at all, and everyone says that, in the game. But to your casual cricket fan or sports fan who's looking at that kind of stuff, they must be thinking, "Oh my word, how does that make you feel? Does it make you angry? Do you just go, oh, for God's sake," or what is it? Because obviously you've changed an awful lot since then. But I think sometimes as well they make it seem a lot worse than it is. Some of the incidents and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, they do, and it's tough, isn't it? Like, I guess all the things I've done wrong in my career, I don't think people would look at it and go, "Oh, Ben Duckett must be a bad bloke." Like, I've made mistakes, but like, they're not like teammates have said, "Oh, he's an awful bloke." So I think, like, in that sense, like, look, I was young, I've made plenty of mistakes. Like, I mean, I was a nightmare at school. I prepared my mum and my dad for it, so they're used to it by now. So I was always in trouble at school, But again, like, none of my teachers would have said they disliked me. I just made mistakes, and like it wasn't like I was a horrific bloke. And I'd like to think that the guys that know me would say I'm a half decent guy. So yeah, I think my career has not been the smoothest. I've obviously, been in trouble here and there and stuff, but hopefully, I've learned from that, and I definitely think I've come a long way as a bloke. But the other thing is, if I finish my career well, then my book will be worth a read, won't it? So
I'll book you for some after dinner work, mate. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I mean, I've got some stories that probably you've seen headlines for, but I can tell the whole story if you want some after dinner speeches.
Quality. Well, moving away from that, but dragging you back to the tour, your first tour with England, what was it like? Obviously, your first exposure of the Barmy Army as in ground and seeing people there, coming from county cricket and then going on an away tour to India, won't be anything like what you've witnessed before, and seeing the Barmy Army there, albeit in fairly small numbers because it was an India tour and a Bangladesh tour where they were there as well. What was that special to hear people singing? And I know you've got a song, albeit not sung very much, but you've got a song. Was it nice?
By the way, if we're talking about that song, these lot have just told me what it is. It's shocking. It's dreadful. You need to get back in that England side, Ben, so that you can have a better song, because there's so much potential there. That is a shocker.
See, I don't know it. I couldn't even. But I think it was close to Chainsmokers, wasn't it, or something? But I don't know.
It's terrible.
But yeah, I actually remember, because honestly, I'm the most. I don't really think about what's until it happens. I don't think the night before, or so obviously when I went out to bat with Chef, and there were kind of the 7 of you lads there singing, and I was kind of like, "Chef, like, what's going on here?" And he was like, "Oh yeah, it's the Barmy Army, like, singing blah blah." I was like, because obviously that was Bangladesh Test match, and there was no one there, so that was it. And I was like, so I think my experience of the Barmy, I mean, Cape Town's a big one, isn't it? Last winter when it just looked incredible. Like, I obviously, the one day in Dhaka and Bangladesh, I mean, I couldn't hear mid-off talking, let alone the guys singing. So I'd love to get an experience properly of what it's like having you guys kind of behind us. And if I don't play again, then maybe I'll do what Gaz Balance did and get the old balaclava on and get myself in there.
You're more than welcome. Say, Ben, with your form on the circuit, you would be a perfect rep for the Barmy Army, I'd have thought.
I reckon I'd be great for a day session.
Brooksy, you'll be training him up by the time he's finished. You'll be working for us.
Well, I don't know about that, mate. I don't know about that, but yeah, we'll see what we can come up with. But I just want obviously the incidents that Ben's had in his career, then, like he said, they're not massive issues. They're just obviously story makers, aren't they? That people are out to get him a little bit. But he's learned a lot already in his young career, haven't you? So it's only going to set you up for back end of your career, mate. I think it'll come good, and you've got a proven record in 2020 cricket for sure, haven't you? In white ball cricket, won a few trophies, haven't you? There was a stat about how many T20 trophies you won now. Last
Three
trophy.
now. Three. I didn't realise, but yeah. So me, Dan Christian, and Paul Nixon and Claude Henderson, I think, have won the most trophies. So,
and you're definitely the youngest.
I was going to say DC's not got too many more years in him, so hopefully we'll get a couple more at Notts and can make a bit of history.
Cool.
Get yourselves back in Div 1, mate. And well, if 2 divisions happens again, because we need to cross swords again, don't we? We need to get you back in my pocket.
I know. Well, geez, what did you get? How many times you got me out both innings, didn't you? And
Yes.
and you had me dropped on baggage.
Should have been a pair, but George Bartlett dropped you at points. So you got 4, and then got out caught caught cover, didn't you? Next ball.
Literally kicked a straight one, and then I tried to get off one, hit it straight to point, dropped, and then got caught cover.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. It was you gave me a couple of easy ones there, unfortunately, but I'm sure it won't happen again in the future.
Oh, well, I'm sure I'll give you a chance, Brooksy.
Ben, what's it been like going and playing with Peter Moores? We hear a lot of people talking about how good he is as a coach, and a lot of people say how he develops games and makes people better players and better cricketers. So what's it like to play with him?
Yeah, it's great. And I obviously, as Brooksy said earlier, I was speaking to Yorkshire, and then Pete Moores came in and spoke to me, and I literally left the conversation. I can't put my finger on what it is, but I rang my agent. I said, I'm going to Notts. I want to work with Pete Moores. I think it's, obviously, Brooksy, you've played at a smaller county as well, so you can relate. Like, when I was at Northants, like, Dave Ripley is a big, I thank him a lot for what's happened in my career, but I couldn't go and speak to Rips when I got back from India, about what I'd faced out there, international cricket. But like Pete Moores, he's done it. He's been right to the top. He's worked with all those guys. So I think, the respect you have for a coach is huge. And before I even joined, I respected him. And, I've heard lots of things from people about, him maybe being intense, and he is far from intense. Like, when he talks in a room, he's one of those guys that everyone listens. He doesn't talk for the sake of it, but and I've done loads of work actually with the assistant coach, and Botha. He's kind of thrown thousands of balls at me this winter. But Pete Moores will just kind of overlook it, and he'll just give me little bits and bobs. But I think, and this is you can only have this advice from someone who's coached England or been in that setup. And here's the biggest thing I've had from him, which he told me last year. He just said, if you've got 1 foot in the England camp and 1 foot with us at Notts, you may as well go. Like, you will not score runs. You will not get back in the England team. He said to me, when you're with Notts now, you need both feet with us, and you need to just give it everything and enjoy it. And it was huge for me this summer, because it's probably the first time I've done it, where after the England bubble, I did well. I was obviously gutted I didn't stay on for that series. I had a day where I was a bit disappointed. And then when I joined up with Notts, forgotten about. I hardly watched England games. I wasn't fussed about what was going on there. I just went back to Notts, and I just said, right, I want to score runs this year. I want to, win a trophy, and kind of enjoy playing cricket. And that was the biggest advice that he's given me, because I reckon since I got dropped for England, when I went back to Northants, all I was thinking about was what's happening at England, who's scoring runs, get me back in that setup. But the reason I got picked for England in the first place was I was just a young lad at Northants, enjoying cricket. Yeah, having 5 pints after every game. We were just, and I didn't even think about what was going on. I saw the ball, I hit the ball, and I think that's the best way for me. Like, I think a lot of people, I imagine that Tom Wesley, Hasib Hamid, you see a lot of these guys who have got into the England side who are gun players, and there's a reason why they got picked, but then have not got back into the squad after, because it's so hard when you get that knock to pick yourself up, go again, improve, and get yourself back in there. And I said it's taken me 4 years to kind of get back to where I should be. And that's the hardest thing. But that P-Moors has been great over the past couple of years.
I think moving clubs is hard as well, mate. I've done it myself, and it's hard to feel settled in a new environment, a new city, and a sort of a big club mentality, isn't it? Where Notts are expected to win trophies, you're surrounded by big names, big egos, and probably similar to how it went for me a little bit. But obviously, like you would feel about North fans, like I do. I love the place. So I didn't really want to move, but for your own career and progression, you have to, don't you? And you could have stayed there and been happy for the next 15 years, but you kind of have to move on, don't you?
I think that's the big thing. And I obviously, when I moved to Notts, that winter, I got picked straight in the Lions off the back of nothing. And obviously, I think they just saw like, right, he doesn't want to stay at Northants for the next 10 years, be cushy on, all right money, play in the side every week. He wants to, push himself. And I think Ed Smith saw that. And that was kind of just moving to Notts, whether I scored runs or not, they saw that, that's what I wanted to do. I had ambitions to kind of, get back in that England side, and not just settle for, being pretty cushy for the next 10 years.
I'm waiting for your Hooters sponsorship on the back of your bat, like Mulaney as well.
Yeah, I know. I'm probably just gonna leave that one. Yeah, I won't get involved. I'll go to Hooters, but yeah.
I bet you will.
You're not going to get a Barmy Army sticker on, Come on, you owe everything to that tour in India, don't you?
Well, you've put me under now, haven't you? I'll have to speak to Pro Direct, won't I?
That's my skill. I'm with Pro Direct as well, Ducky. So we might have to join.
They are a handy sponsor, aren't they? We'll have to mention them, Brooksy. They are a good sponsor.
I can get you both shoes, lads. Don't worry about it. We can sort
I don't want Clark's, mate. I don't want a Clark's own brand ever.
You do realise we're cutting that out, by the way, about that Pro Direct thing. Get rid of that.
Yeah, get rid of that. Yeah.
Oh dear, Ben, we'll let you get back to your coffee, pal. It's really good of you to talk to us. I hope that this winter, who knows what it's going to bring, but I hope it bears fruit and you get back in, because you deserve it. You've been class this year, and thanks.
Before you go, Ben, we have got a member question which we need to ask. So
go on.
Tom Jackson has emailed 2 questions, and the first one is, what's a favourite bowler to bat against and why? And the second one is, who's your favourite batsman you've ever batted with?
The first one is so easy, and I always answer it. He's a teammate of mine now, but it's Samit Patel. The one thing I was gutted about moving to Notts was I will never face Samit in a game again, because I don't know why, but I always belted him. And I always let him know now when I'm in the nets, I'm like, come on, Samit, come on, have a bowl at me. And he's like, no, I'm not bowling at you. So, and I always tell him, I love Samit, and he's obviously a world-class player, but I don't know, I just love facing him.
Brilliant.
Favourite batsman I've batted with?
Favourite batsman you've batted with?
Good question, that.
Batted with me, obviously.
No, obviously I would have said you, Brooksy. I mean, I've been lucky, haven't I? I've played with some world-class players, but I think the one thing that I will always look back on will be, opening the batting with Alistair Cook. I know he's had about 45 partners in the last 4 years, but, from what he's done in the game, whatever I achieve in my career, to say in 30 years, if I ever have kids, who knows? But to say that I opened the batting with Alistair Cook, and actually we put on 100 in Bangladesh, which to put on 100 with Alistair Cook, it's pretty special, I think.
Pretty cool.
2 great answers there.
2 really good answers. I'm glad that you used them, actually, Chris. They're very, very good. Thanks for the questions. Ben, thanks a lot, pal. Enjoy your coffee. Get back to talking to David Beckham, whoever it is.
Yeah. Say hello to him from me.
Go and do your 4th gym session of the day, Ducky.
Oh yeah, I might go do some fitness now, Brooksy.
All
right. Nice one. Really appreciate that, Ben, and thanks for
coming on, buddy.
And talking to
Cheers,
us.
bud.
Cheers, mate.
Speak soon, mate.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Cheers, bye.